So here we are with the Galaxy Note 2. We're going to be taking a look at the hardware and the software and seeing really what Samsung are offering in this rather large but almost perfectly formed package. This is Samsung's latest and greatest phone. Coming in with a 5.5-inch Super Amoled RGB screen. It really is a monster. This is one big phone. Compared to something like the Galaxy S3 or the iPhone 5, you're really going to notice the size of this phone. That's not to say that it's too big, but it won't suit certain people. You're going to find it just too difficult to hold in your hands, I'm afraid, for a long period of time. Now, other than the huge 5.5-inch screen, they've put a 1.6 GHz quad-core Exynos processor backed up with 2 GB of system RAM and either your choice of 16, 32 or 64 GB of storage. This is a big beefy phone. A 1.6 GHz processor, quad-core, it absolutely flies for gaming. And for practically anything else you can throw at it as well for that matter. But anyway, on the front of the device we have a 1.9 megapixel front-facing camera, a couple of sensors and the grill for your earpiece. And on the bottom we have a physical home button. I know a lot of people prefer the soft buttons as dictated by Google for Jelly Bean. It does make a bit of a difference having a physical home button there though, because you've got double click options, long press, etc., which just seem to feel a little bit more solid. Using soft touch buttons on the Nexus 7 or the Galaxy Nexus, sometimes it just doesn't feel right. Having that physical button there does make a bit of a difference. The side of the phone is very, very thin. It's about the same thickness as the Galaxy S3 and so feels good in the hand. If you've got big hands, you'll be more than comfortable holding this device. The tapered edges, again, really aid to the feeling that it's sitting comfortably in your hand and actually sitting within the palm of your hand properly, not kind of just raised up on the edges or anything like that. It makes for a very pleasurable holding experience. On the left-hand side of the device are the volume rockers. Volume up, volume down. On the other side of the device is your power button, which for my liking is a little bit on the small side maybe. And also just on this edge here, you can see the back cover pop. Get your fingernail or something into the corner of there and pop. The back cover is a little bit on the stiff side. On the top of the device, you have your 3.5mm headphone jack and a small noise cancelling microphone. And on the bottom of the device, the micro USB and another noise cancelling microphone. On the back, an 8 megapixel shooter, which is exactly the same as the Galaxy S3, and an LED flash, which for my opinion is slightly on the blue hue side when you're using it. Not the best flash in the world, but it gets the job done. At the bottom of the device is your speaker grill, which is actually covered over by more than 50% with a small piece of plastic effectively in the back cover. A little bit of an odd design decision there, but this speaker is very, very loud anyway. Certainly much louder than the S3, probably around twice the size of the S3, although it is buried in the plastic. And then we have the S Pen, which is available at the bottom of the device, and this provides touch control using a pen stylus device. It's actually a digital stylus, meaning that it's actually communicating with the phone simultaneously. We'll get onto those features in another part of the review. Inside the back cover of the device, we have a very, very large 31 milliamp battery. That's going to be driving the device for a good 2 days on standby general usage. So if you're just checking your email, playing the odd game and so on, 2 days is very viable out of this battery. However, if you're really hammering your phone, making lots of phone calls, Wi-Fi turned on, GPS, really running that screen at the highest brightness settings, then about a day out of the battery is what you're going to get. But for a device of this size, running a 5.5-inch screen, that's still pretty spectacular, it has to be said. One interesting thing to note is they've actually moved the NFC chip from the battery onto its own back cover. So now the NFC is part of the back cover, not the battery. If you want to go and buy an aftermarket battery, third party, you no longer have to worry about does it have NFC built in. Now the NFC connectors are there and that powers the NFC chip and reader. Your SIM card tray is here underneath the battery. You will need to take the battery out to get to the SIM, but crucially, no longer do you have to take your battery out to get to the micro SD slot. You can now just pop a memory card in as and when really quickly, pull battery off, back cover off, pop card in, pop it back together. And here you can see the speaker. A big chunky speaker, but if you look at this piece of plastic here, you can see effectively they've covered it over. A little bit odd. big speaker, tiny egress hole. Bit of a shame. Other than that though, this really is a beautifully well made piece of kit. Some people complain that the back cover is a bit flexible. I would probably agree with you, but bearing in mind that there's plenty of really good quality back covers out there with various extra features on there, much simpler. Whether we'll now have to also be keeping our eyes out for ones which have the NFC chips built in, or if someone's going to be enterprising and come up with a way to remove those and attach them to new back covers, I'm not sure. But all in all, a stonking piece of hardware. Certainly this is the cutting edge right now of mobile phone design and specs. A truly beautiful piece of kit. So the Galaxy Note 2 is running the latest and greatest version of Google's Android operating system, codenamed Jelly Bean. The main standout features here really for Jelly Bean, and for what Samsung have done in general to integrate their TouchWiz operating system, the Samsung features and apps, and then into the Jelly Bean operating system, has been beautifully done. If you've already got hold of the Samsung Galaxy S3 update for Jelly Bean, then not a huge number of surprises here. If you're brand new to Jelly Bean, if you're previously coming from Ice Cream Sandwich or something like that, you're in for a real treat. Okay, so first off, the major changes are the notification area. The notification area has been completely overhauled now to make it much more user-friendly. Notifications can provide expanded information if the application has been set up for it, and Samsung have added their own quick lock shortcut bar at the top, and the brightness controls work really nicely, and you have settings available at the top here. If you tap that, you go straight into your settings. On your button placements, you have a long press button here, which is actually your back button as well, and that will bring up the multi-window support, which allows you to run 2 applications simultaneously. Long pressing on the home button brings up the running tasks list, which you can then quickly close if you want to, and that will clear all of your running tasks. This option on the side, on the left hand side, takes you into your applications that are installed, your system memory, 1.75 gig available, beautiful, let's just clear that down, and your storage. If you long press but go into the center option, it will take you into the Google Now functionality, which is new from Google for Jelly Bean. And what this provides is contextual based information about what you are doing. So for instance, what's the weather like today where I am? If I happen to be going out to a meeting, it will check to see whether the traffic is bad, and it will reroute me if necessary, and it will tell me, would you like to be rerouted? There's bad traffic, it's going to add an extra 10 minutes onto your journey. It will provide the latest sports results. If you happen to be stood at a bus stop or outside a cinema, it will provide the latest listings or bus timetables for you, so you know exactly how long you're going to be waiting for your movie or when the next bus is going to be coming along. This level of deep integration with the handset is absolutely fantastic, and on quite a few occasions now I found it really useful. Something certainly to check out. You can access it also via this Google search strip here, which you can also use to trigger the Google voice service as well, which will then produce a search for you based on what you've said. It can search through images and absolutely anything you need, but all powered by Google services. A really nice introduction, and it completely out-Series Siri. One of the pieces of functionality that Samsung have included, which I'm not a big fan of, is S-Voice. It's their version of Siri. Personally, I don't think it works very well. It's better at some things than Siri and worse than at others. Personally, I've disabled it. I much prefer Google Now, and I really don't think Samsung will continue with S-Voice for too many years. I think Google Now will effectively take over from it. But you know, good on Samsung for at least putting the functionality in there of voice assistants, but you know, none of them work very well. I think Google have kind of got the one-up on that one by not really doing personalised voice searching as such, but really relying on the data it holds about us to produce better voice responses and provide data alongside that. All in all, the Jelly Bean functionality is a massive improvement over, you know, a previous Ice Cream Sandwich on the same hardware. The responsiveness of the screen, how quickly menus open and applications load, is absolutely stunning. And you know, whilst this does have a faster processor, more RAM, we've seen very similar speed gains and performance boosts on any device that gets Jelly Bean installed onto it. Everything is much more snappy. So if you're coming from an older handset for Android, or if you're coming from an old iPhone, you will really notice the difference in speed. If you're one of those people who has an existing Android phone and you're just waiting for Jelly Bean at the moment, don't be too alarmed that there's a new device that's come out that's faster. Wait until you get Jelly Bean, you'll find your phone will suddenly be like brand new again. Very, very quick and responsive. A lot of the software is pretty much standard from an Android perspective. Some of the new Samsung applications that they've added on are really more updates to the existing stuff to take account of things like the S Pen. So S Note and S Planner have been updated to make use of the S Pen feature. You now have Paper Artist, which is really just a fun little drawing game. They've added a Reader's Hub, which is really like a Samsung books and subscription service. A lot of the time you kind of think they're duplicating applications that Google already provide, like a Samsung Apps. Why have Samsung Apps if you have Google Apps, which have all of the same apps in there? Occasionally a little bit cheaper, sometimes a bit more expensive. Doesn't really make a right lot of sense. They've also bundled Dropbox, Chat On, which is Samsung's chat app, a bit like WhatsApp. The Learning Hub, which for the life of me I don't really know why that's been included, but I think they're aiming this very much at people in academia as well, so you have like a periodicals and journals option in there as well. And then really the standard Google stuff, like Google Maps is there. Flipboard has also been included by Samsung, has as All Share, which is their DLNA sharing tool. There's also the Music Hub and Game Hub as well. Most of the time though, you will find that you'll be defaulting back to the Google ones because they're what you know and love. Although I must say I do actually quite like Music Hub and Music app that they've installed from Samsung, Music Player should I say. It does quite a good job and it's quite pleasing to use. I always found that the Music app on iOS 6, on any Apple product, was always a bit lackluster really. Great sound quality and all, but not really the best app experience. I think they've got it really, really well done on the Galaxy Note 2. Okay, let's take a look at the Samsung Galaxy Note 2 S Pen. So on the bottom of the phone you have the S Pen drawer, and inside there is an S Pen. And as soon as you take it out of the device, the phone will actually detect that it's going into S Pen mode. So you'll get the S Note pop-up so you can very quickly jot a note down. You can alter all of these things through your settings. And then you also get a new home screen which gives you quick access to S Notes and S Notes functionality. You can then draw on the screen and it will record that information. You've then got various functionality within the S Note that allows you to do erasing and so on, or you can use the typing tool, which will automatically pop you into a like OCR mode. So it will then try and detect, with my awful handwriting, the word I'm trying to say, and remarkably got it right. Very, very nice feature. Now, previously, whenever anyone's had a go at doing digitizers and so on phones or any kind of portable device, they've not done a brilliant job of it. And you tend to find it's not very responsive, or you end up losing the stylus. Now, what Samsung have done is they've teamed up with Wacom this time. So what you have is the market leader in tablet design and pen design, working with Samsung to create a proper stylus which is actually intelligent in the sense that it's talking to the phone. So you have a button on the side here which can then enable extra functionality. In this case, I can use it to grab a screen region just by pressing down that button there. And as soon as I press the button down, it communicates that button press to the phone. And I can then copy that to the clipboard automatically or share it with a particular application if I want to. Another key feature is that when you actually take the S Pen out of the phone, you actually get an audible chime and then a vibration setting as well. So you know it's been taken out, and again, putting it back in causes the same thing to happen. You get a bit of feedback that this is properly secured. Another really nice feature, because the pen is communicating constantly with the device, if you happen to leave the pen on the table, walk away and haven't put it back into the phone, you will actually get a message on the screen saying the pen hasn't been attached properly and please go back and get it. A really, really useful feature given how often these styluses tend to get lost. The actual S Pen functionality is really, really nicely done. Being able to actually draw on the screen rather than kind of just stabbing it with your fat fingers, etc. You get a lot more control, but likewise, because of the way the stylus has been created, it doesn't actually have to touch the screen to be able to interact with options. So you can see here, even though the pen is not quite touching the screen, it's about 2mm away, I'm still able to get functionality, like as hovering over these menu items. And then when I actually touch, then it does its thing. And likewise, go into there, but not until I actually want that item. So I can basically do like a peek look and just peek at what these options are before I actually go ahead and make use of them. This also works in other applications as well. So if I come into gallery, in here I can hover over an image and have it peek it for me, and so I can see what's actually inside that image. If I go into the image, I can then also add a photo note. It flips the image round and I can draw on the back of the image to save for later. So if you take a particular image and you want to add a bit of extra context to it, remind yourself later where you took it or anything like that, or just want to add a funny little note, you can, and then you can just tap on the image to then see the message written on the back. Really, really nice little feature, although something that is pretty much just locked to the Note 2. You can't then share this image and have the information written on the back of the image. You just end up sharing the front of the image effectively. But it's just a nice little bit of functionality to add into the Note 2 experience, as it were. And this hovering option works at different levels within the gallery as well, so you can use it on the top ends as well. Really, really nice. If you happen to be working in an application which has a lot of scroll, for instance, you can actually hover your mouse down at the bottom. Oops. Okay, not actually working on Chrome, but you can actually see here it is working to actually highlight links. My pen isn't actually touching the link, but I'm basically peeking onto the link there. In certain applications, but it doesn't seem to be working in the default, in the Chrome browser. Let's just try it in normal browser. Or should we say in the Android built-in browser? Where's she gone? And just see if it's actually working. Yeah, you can see the arrow appearing at the bottom here. Let's just get it into something where we've got a long list to scroll. If we can ever get there. Doesn't look like it. Right. Let's just go to... Okay, so this is the Androidizen website, and if you can see there, now as soon as I've gone with the stylus down to the bottom of the page, it's starting to scroll, but I'm not actually touching the page. Makes for a very, very nice experience. It's a shame this hasn't been ported over to Chrome yet. Presumably this functionality will be coming into the Google Chrome browser, but for now you can use it within the standard Android browser if you want to. But it just makes for quite a nice, fluid experience when you're using the pen and you don't have to actually physically touch the screen to move up and down. Would have been nice to see this as a baked directly into the Android operating system at this level by Samsung, but sadly not, so we'll have to wait for apps to physically update for this particular functionality. Bit of a shame, but it's there anyway. But it just makes for a much smoother experience when you're using the pen and you don't have to keep flicking between pen and finger all of the time, or at least in those apps that do support it. But those are the key features of the S Pen. Everything else is pretty much up to your imagination and what you can do with it. Samsung have provided some really good basic functionality and some kind of quite clever twists on the idea of using the stylus. But really from there, it's what can you think of to do with it? I think for certain strategy games and certain games where you have to draw paths and so on, this would be much more accurate than stabbing with your finger basically. So there you go, that is the Galaxy Note 2 S Pen. To activate multi-window mode, long press on your back button and you get this charm bar appearing. Then all you do is select the app that you want, the first app you want multi-window, and drag it in, and then grab the next app you want multi-window and you drag that in. And there you go. So now we can watch YouTube whilst browsing the web. a very, very, very cool feature. It doesn't work with every app. Samsung are encouraging developers to add the feature, and some of the guys over on the XDA developer forums have discovered a file manifest which seems to suggest it will be fairly easy to add additional apps into this multi-window support. But out of the box, you basically have YouTube, Chrome, messaging, S-Note, Gmail, video player, gallery, maps, Facebook, and also Twitter, but I don't use the official Twitter app. I prefer Slices. Each of those apps can then appear in there, and if you go to edit, you can change that running order as well. Multi-window support really is this outstanding feature on the Galaxy Note 2. The increase in usability because you have this larger screen and being able to use two apps simultaneously is just fantastic. If you want to get rid of one app temporarily, you can actually just scroll it down to the bottom using this bar, which kind of sits at different points. So you can actually have the window displaying as much or as little as you'd like, and it works really in kind of 4 stages up and down the screen, as you can see there. But it just makes the whole user experience, being able to throw a map into there and so on whilst you're also browsing the web and pulling up the phone numbers or the address, it's just genius. Why this hasn't found its way onto tablets before now is beyond me, but I would have thought that every Samsung device moving forward with a large screen will have this feature, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is copied by more manufacturers as well. Frankly, Google, you need to get this into your next version of Android operating system, which I think is dubbed Keyline Pi. This is just brilliant, and I think actually it would work quite nicely on anything over about a 4-inch display. I think this could actually work quite nicely on the Galaxy S3. Certainly I'm looking forward to seeing the guys over at XDA Developers having a go at cracking and hacking this onto the S3. I think it's going to be fantastic. This is an 8-megapixel shooter, exactly the same one as comes on the Galaxy S3, so don't expect a sudden leap in quality. It is side backlit for low light, but my personal feeling is the low light performance is still very poor. However, when you're using the camera outside, and if it has plenty of sunlight, it is one of the best shooters around. Not quite at Nokia PureView levels, but then who wants a 41 megapixel insane camera in your phone when it doesn't actually work as a very good phone? So I would rather have a good balance between the two. So, what kind of features are we going to have here? Let's just move this in a little bit more. A lot of the same features as on the previous Galaxy S3. You have your options down here at the bottom, which allow you to edit the various shooting modes. You have a host of different shooting modes, from burst, best photo, which will take a series of shots and then show you what it thinks is the best one. Best face, which is the same principle again but using faces. Face detection, panorama, share shot. The now obligatory HDR mode, beauty, smile shot, low light, and a buddy photo share. Buddy photo share, if you've set up your friends in your phone and tagged them on a photograph, and it then sees one of your friends in a photograph, it will then share the photo with them automatically, I believe. Quite a cool feature. How useful that is for most people, I don't know. You've got effects, which are sort of Instagram-y, but not quite as good. But they're actually operated as a pre-process, so you actually get those instantly. You also have exposure values, the focusing mode, which can be metered or spot, or center weighted I think, white balance, the ISOs, outdoor visibility, which really just appears to be a contrast booster if you ask me, an auto contrast, which basically just blows out the contrast on your images, makes them look a little bit 1970s. Clearly don't think it works well in low light, it's more of a well lit option. Anti-shake, which just makes sure that the image is absolutely stable before it actually fires the shutter, just allowing you that extra fraction of a second just to get the image perfect. You can take pictures using voice, you can GPS tag, and then obviously you've got your image quality and your storage options as well. Now the real surprise on this device was actually in video. You got all of the same features again that you would normally expect. So self-recording, turning the flash on as a permanent beam to illuminate the scene, your recording modes, exposure values, resolution, anti-shake, guidelines, and all of that kind of stuff. But the interesting thing I found was recording mode. Now in here you've got limit for MMS, which is normal, we've seen that before on the S3, but then we have slow motion and fast motion. Now what these do is allow you to record very, very fast moving things but slow them right down, and you can slow them down by a quarter, a half, or 1/8. What actually happens is the image sensor inside reduces the quality down to about 480p. And that allows it to run much quicker at grabbing the images and then slow down that footage. And what you find is really nice kind of slow, smooth motion without a lot of motion blur. And it works remarkably well, actually. Even though it has dropped the quality, it's still passable. And you know, if you're out and you just need to take a picture of you know, some cars going around a track, or you know, kids playing with a football or something like that, something where you've got a lot of fast motion, it really makes a difference. You do lose sound quality, unfortunately, as you might expect, but even so, a really nice little feature. Quite a surprise to just see it sitting in there. And again, be nice to see if this gets backported to some of the other devices. In the same vein, you also have fast motion as well. This will basically crank the frame rate up to about 60 frames a second, I believe. Maybe, surprisingly, it reckons it can even go up to 8 times, which would be, what, nearly 320, 240 frames a second? I'll have to try that later when I'm outside, and I'll pop some video footage up so you can see the different speed settings. But quite a surprising little feature to have sat inside a phone. Very, very nice indeed. But that is the main features you will find for the camera on the Galaxy Note 2. Let's take a look at the Note 2 settings. So, if you're used to Ice Cream Sandwich or any previous version of Android, you'll find that things have been moved around a fair bit by Samsung. Partly that is because of Jelly Bean, the latest operating system update from Google, and partly because of criticism that some of their stuff was just buried under, you know, many levels of menu. So, the top area here, which is your wireless networks, is pretty much unchanged. You've got your Wi-Fi access, your Bluetooth. You can check your data usage, so how much data you're actually been using, and also set warnings and thresholds on there to prevent you from going over any bundles you may have. In more settings, you have your flight mode, access to the mobile network changing. Your tethering and portable hotspots is in here, as is virtual private networks, and where you can turn your NFC, near field communication, and S-beam features on or off. And also DLNAs for your nearby devices as well. And if you happen to be using keys via Wi-Fi, which is Samsung's updating and pushing software to push information and backup between your device and your PC. Home screen mode allows for 2 different modes really for using the device. If you're someone who's new to Android, or if you're coming from an iPhone where things are a little bit more basic, you can switch to a basic mode, and it just cuts down the number of home screens, the amount of clutter. Or you've got, basic mode is the standard mode, and then you have easy mode, which then puts it into a more slimmed down fashion, so it's much easier to use. This is really aimed at those people who aren't overly familiar with mobile phones, or are coming from a different operating system and might become overwhelmed by the pure number of features that Samsung actually provide here. If we come into blocking mode, this allows you to turn off particular types of alerts and alarms between certain times. So you can disable your incoming calls, notifications, set up times to allow them, etc. Really, really useful feature, and something that in the past was done via third-party apps. Sound, self-explanatory. This is where you're going to be setting up your ringtones, vibration settings, everything related to how the phone is going to communicate to you via audio. Vibration intensity is in there as well. You've also got the screen lock sound, which I've turned off. That ripple effect is quite annoying. Display, self-explanatory again, but in here is where your wallpapers will be found, but also LED indicator as well. The phone has a little LED. When you get notifications, that LED will flash particular colours depending on the notification you've got. You can go in and tweak all of this here, along with your wallpaper. Page Buddy. This is a really useful feature which detects what you happen to have just done with the phone. So if you've pulled the S Pen out, it will then automatically flip to S Pen mode. Put your earphones in, it'll switch to music mode. Docking, it will go into a dock mode, etc. Really, really useful, and it saves all that fiddling around going, oh, I need to put it into this mode, or where's my music app? If you plugged your headphones in, clearly you want to use music. You also have your brightness controls, auto rotation and the screen timeout, and 2 useful features that I found actually were turned off by default, which is smart rotation and smart stay. Smart rotation and smart stay use the camera and the sensors to work out whether it needs to leave the screen on or whether the screen needs to be rotated intelligently. So if you happen to be lying down when you're using your phone, you may have noticed it on some devices that the screen will sometimes start flicking backwards and forwards because it can't quite work out if you're lying down or standing up. Smart rotation helps to alleviate that problem, and smart stay makes sure that the screen stays on if you happen to be looking at your phone. It uses the camera, detects your face, and says, well, he's still looking at the device, I best not turn the screen off now, he's probably using it. A worthwhile feature, and quite welcome actually, to see that on a device. Little user experience things can make a big difference to how frustrating using a device can feel. Really good to see that coming in. You can change your font styles as well if you are that way inclined. Touch light duration, which is how long these lights stay on at the bottom. Display battery percentage if you want at the top. Personally, I always find that rather scary. I'd rather not know. Yeah, it's about 50%. Auto adjust screen tone as well. The storage areas. This provides a running list basically of what you are storing on your device and what category that would fall into. And you can then go into those areas to then see those individual apps as listed and remove them, etc. as you need to. Power saving, really, really useful. If you happen to be out and about and your battery's going low and you're going to be away for a charge for a while, flick this on. It will drop your power to the CPU, the processor that's running the phone and doing all of the action. Power saving will be turned on for the screen. It means it will drop the brightness right down. The background colours will be muted on the internet, so if you've got a lot of background colours, strong background colours use more power. White doesn't really use an awful lot of power. And turn off haptic feedback. Again, anything that happens to be drawing a lot of power off this battery. All of that can then be disabled on the fly. You can check your battery usage and you can see which elements are actually using the most battery power. Clearly the screen is always going to be pretty close to the top, but it allows you to see if you've got an application that happens to be running in the background and maybe is drawing a little bit more power than you wanted. You can then close that down. And the application manager provides very similar functionality to the storage area, but provides everything you've got and all of your running apps as well. And you can see the cached processes. Useful if you need to free up memory or if you're trying to find something that happens to be chewing up a lot of system runtimes. Locations. So if it's battery, how is it going to find out where you are? Use GPS, you will drain your battery very quickly. Used on a wireless network, it's pretty much okay. And is still reasonably accurate. Good enough for getting a basic fix. Your lock screen has loads of information in here. This controls how your phone is seen when you first turn it on and before you actually enter. So this area here basically. Within that lock screen you have various security options. So swipe, no motion, face unlock, face and voice, pattern, pin and password. And each of these options then gives you even more options, depending on what kind of security you're going for. And then you've got the lock screen options as well. So the lock screen itself can have more information included on there, like a ticker, a clock, dual clock, weather. You can turn the ripple effect on and off in there if you want to. Quick access to the camera, quite useful. With that turned on, if you take the phone out of your pocket like this, put your finger on the screen and then rotate, it will automatically go into camera mode for you. So you don't have to fiddle with the buttons or anything like that. And with the camera starting up in a fraction of about one and a half seconds, really quick and nippy way to work with your camera on the fly. But those are all of your lock screen options, worth having a play in there to see what kind of functionality you want to turn on. One-handed operation, or should I say security next, this handles all of your encryption on the device. So if you happen to be working within a business network, very good chance you will need to have this turned on and enabled. It will allow all of the data that goes in and out of the phone and the data that's stored on the phone to be encrypted. Very useful and very important if you're working on a corporate network. One-handed operation, because this is such a big device, 5.5 inches, the vast majority of people can't actually reach with their thumb from one side to the other of the screen. So what they have is one-handed operation. What it does is it puts the keyboard into a floating window, which allows it to drift to one side of the screen or the other, or for you to drag it and position it exactly where you want on the screen. Whatever's comfortable to then one thumbboard it. And literally, it's a small size keyboard, but if you measure it and compare it to something like a Galaxy S3 or something else, you're actually getting the same size screen, keyboard, just properly positioned for where you want to use it. It actually works pretty well, and I found the accuracy is just as good. But you've got that flexibility there. Really useful if you're a one-handed operator like I am. Language and input, another self-explanatory one. This is where you're configuring what language your device is going to be operating in, and also what language it will respond to for voice recognition and so on, and text-to-speech input. All of that can be controlled in there. Cloud services are from Samsung. That allows you to back up all of your data on your device, such as SMS messages, MMS messages and logs. It's a bit weak, frankly. I don't know why they included that and Dropbox. It's useful, I suppose, but so limited that there are better options out there third party for it. Backup and reset allows you to back up the physical device and also reset and wipe all the data on the device. And then this is where accounts are held now. If you are coming from Ice Cream Sandwich, Accounts used to be a separate option called accounts, and you have to go into that, then into the account you wanted, then settings and everything like that. Now, just down at the very bottom of your settings list, and you can then go in and configure each one of these independently or add a new account. Add a new account gives you oodles and oodles of different options, including Microsoft Active Sync and bespoke custom servers as well if you want to. LDAP's in there. Everything you could possibly need. As you add new apps to your device, if they have an accounts option, it will appear in your account settings. And at the very bottom you have the system settings. Motion controls are from Samsung, and these are very useful ways that you can use your device by using various motions to create actions within the device. So, direct call. If you have the phone number up on the screen, you don't have to press the call button, you can just lift the phone to your head, the phone will detect that you want to make that call, and it will then start the dial for you. Smart alert for catching missed messages, everything available in here. There's some really, really useful features. Pan to move the icons. If you turn over the phone, you can then immediately mute or pause whatever it's doing. Some useful stuff in there that's worth taking a look at. S Pen controls are in here as well, including detachment sounds, dominant hand, battery saving, pop-up notice, and the alert if you happen to, S-Keeper, if you happen to walk out of the room and not put the pen back in. Accessories, date and time, accessibility and developer options are all pretty standard stuff really. I won't go into those in too much detail, but if you go into developer options, you can actually make your device just a little bit faster again. Where you have window animation scale, transition scale and animator duration scale, put all those on 0.5. By default they're on 0.1. If you've got a really fast device, the phone won't actually need to wait at all for the animations to redraw on the screen. It's fast enough to just transition really, really quickly. Works on the S3, works on the Note 2 beautifully, and just makes the phone feel a little bit nippier again by a fraction of a second. Hey, we're all about squeezing every last bit of performance out of these devices. So those are the settings and the software of the Samsung Galaxy Note 2. Truly a beautiful device, truly a beautiful software implementation as well. Hi everyone. Okay, we're going to benchmark the Galaxy Note 2. Let's go for it. So what this is going to do is run through things like the CPU, the memory, input-output power, 2D graphics and 3D graphics, and it will generate a score. You can see it running through these various options at the moment. Obviously, the more powerful the device, the higher the score is going to be. So there's a 2D test going on. Fractals. Very, very smooth. I have to say this is a very powerful phone. 2 gig of RAM and a 1.6 gig quad-core processor. Certainly you should expect some really high numbers out of this. Very smooth. We'll go with the double helix test. Let's have a look. 5565. That is something else. There you go. So HTC One X is quite a way behind there, and pretty much everything else is just picking up the rear. So there you go. Galaxy Note 2, 5565 for the benchmark. Beautiful. Here we are with Geekbench 2's benchmark. Let's have a quick look and see what score we get. Unfortunately there's no nice pretty pictures or anything to look at while it does this. You can just watch this nice spinning circle instead while it does its thing. I feel like I should play some mood music or something. There we go. 1907, which is not a bad score at all. There you can see the spec. Available 1.75 gig of memory, Android 4.11, with an ARM v7 running at 1.6 gig. 1907, beautiful. Had to bring you this fantastic game. It came out a couple of days ago. It's called Death Dome. If you ever played Infinity Blade on the iPhone, really, really similar principle. Better graphics though, in my opinion. Kind of like a cell shading animation, like Borderlands style. You level up your character, you get better weapons, you fight bigger bosses, collect more loot, ad infinitum. Keep leveling up until you conquer the entire map by the looks of it. So, take a look. As you can see, the graphics are gorgeous. Here we're playing it on the new Galaxy Note 2, by the way. So at the beginning of each stage, you have to collect by doing tapping actions. and this gets you more coins, etc., and can get you power-ups. Then a boss comes along, and we have to beat him up. So, you have to dodge his actions, and then attack him. As you level up, your weapons do more and more damage, you can block, etc. Bring it on. If you build up enough sort of special power, then you can unleash that to do like a really, really big attack. So we're now scavenging again. Next boss. Played on the Galaxy Note 2, it is a very fluid game. Really, really nice. I haven't noticed any major slowdowns or anything like that. I think overall this is a stonking release from Glue Mobile. Beat that guy in one go. The basic backstory is that a virus has been unleashed on the world and made everyone go crazy, and you're one of the last sane people, and obviously you have a really, really big weapon. But that is Death Dome, free to play on the Play Store now. Go grab it.